Hello and welcome to another sneak peek Saturday at the Alameda Free Library. My name is Jenny and today we are going to read from the book Outlawed by Anna North. This is a work of fiction, and like always I will read you the little flap so you have an idea what it's about, and we start with a chapter or two. Alrighty. The day of her wedding, 17-year-old Ada's life looks good. She loves her husband and she loves working as an apprentice to her mother, a respected midwife. But after a year of marriage and no pregnancy in a town where barren women are routinely hanged as witches, her survival depends on leaving behind everything she knows. She joins up with the notorious Hole-in-the-Wall gang, a band of outlaws led by a preacher-turned-robber known to all as the Kid. Charismatic, grandiose, and mercurial, the Kid is determined to create a safe haven for outcast women. But to make this dream a reality, the gang hatches a treacherous plan that may get them all killed, and Ada must decide whether she's willing to risk her life for the possibility of a new kind of future for them all. Featuring an irresistibly no-nonsense, courageous and determined heroine, Outlaw dusts off the myths of the Old West and reignites the glimmering promise of the frontier with an entirely new set of feminist stakes. Sounds very intriguing to me. So let's get started. In the year of our Lord, 1894, I became an outlaw. Like a lot of things, it didn't happen all at once. First, I had to get married. I felt lucky on the day of my wedding dance. First, I had to, in the year of our Lord 1894, I became an outlaw. Like a lot of things, it didn't happen all at once. First, I had to get married. I felt lucky on the day of my wedding dance. At 17, I wasn't the first girl in my class to marry, but I was one of them, and my husband was a handsome boy from a good family. He had 3 siblings, like me, and his mama was one of 7. Did I love him? We used to say we loved our beaux, my girlfriends and I. I remember spending hours talking about his broad shoulders, his awkward but charming dancing, the bashful way he always said my name. The first few months of my marriage were sweet ones. My husband and I were hungry for each other all the time. In 9th form, when the girls and boys were separated to prepare us for married life, Mrs. Spencer had explained to us that it would be our duty to lie with our husbands regularly so that we could have children for baby Jesus. We already knew about the children part. We had read Burton's Lessons of the Infant Jesus Christ every year since 3rd form, so we had heard about how God sent the great flu to cleanse the world of evil, just like he'd sent the flood to many centuries before. We knew that baby Jesus had appeared to Mary of Texarkana after the sickness had killed 9 of every 10 men, women, and children from Boston to California, and struck a covenant with her. If those who remained were fruitful and peopled the world in his image, he would spare them further sickness, and they and their descendants forever after would be precious to him. But in 9th form, we learned about lying with our husbands, how we should wash beforehand and put perfume behind our ears, how we should breathe slowly to relax our muscles, and try to look our husbands in the eyes. How we'd bleed. Don't worry, Mrs. Spencer said, then smiling at us. It only hurts in the beginning. After a while, you'll start to like it. There's nothing more joyful than two people joining together to make a child. My husband did not know what to do at first, but he took his responsibility seriously, and what he lacked in experience, he made up for it in ardor. We lived with his parents while he saved for a house. In the mornings, his mother made little jokes about how soon I'd be eating for two. During the day, I still attended births with my mama. I was the eldest and the only one who actually wanted to learn about breech birth and morning sickness and childbed fever. So I was the one who would take over for mama when she got too old. When I came on rounds with my new wedding ring, the mothers-to-be winked and teased me. It's good you're learning about all this now, said Alma Bunting, 40 years old, pregnant with her sixth child and suffering from hemorrhoids. Then you won't be surprised when it's your turn. I just laughed. I was not like my friend Ulla, who had 8 baby names picked out for 4 boys and 4 girls. When I was 10 and my sister B was 2 months old, my mama had gone to bed and stayed there for a year. So I had already been a mama. I had changed the baby, fed her from a bottle when mama couldn't nurse, soothed her at night when I was still young enough to be afraid of the dark. I was not in a rush to do it again. I knew from working with mama that sometimes it could take months, even for a young girl like me, and I was happy to sleep with my new husband and still sneak off sometimes to drink Juneberry wine behind the Petersons' barn with Ulla and Susie and Mary Alice, and not have to worry about anyone except for me. But then it was 6 months since our wedding day, and my husband's mama was lingering in the kitchen while I put the breakfast dishes away. You know, she said, after you do it, you can't just get right up and go about your day. You have to lie still for at least 15 minutes to give everything time to work. She had a way of talking to me like we were girls the same age, gossiping after school. But this wasn't gossip and we weren't friends. I kept my voice light and happy. She had a way of talking to me like we were girls the same age, gossiping after school, but this wasn't gossip and we weren't friends. I kept my voice light and happy. Mama says that doesn't matter so much, I said. She says the most important thing is the time of months. That's why I always mark my calendar. Your mama's a very smart woman, she said. She had never liked my mama, but sometimes every little bit helps. She took the teacups from my hands. I finished this, she said. You get ready for your work. I didn't take my mother-in-law's advice. I'd never liked lazing around in bed, but I started taking my temperature every day so I'd know exactly when my fertile time was coming. Still, I didn't worry. Mama had said it took her 8 months to get pregnant with me, and my daddy almost left her. But after that, Janie and Jessamine and Bea were easy. My husband made fun of his mother when we were alone. He said she meddled so much in his older brother's marriage that his sister-in-law banned her from their house. 6 more months we were happy, and then it was a year. There's only one thing to do now, my mama said. You have to sleep with someone else. Half the time, she explained, the man was the one who was barren. This shocked me. Mrs. Spencer had taught us that the most common reason for failing to conceive a child was not lying with one's husband often enough, and the second was forgetting one's prayers. If a woman did her duty by her husband and baby Jesus and still did not become pregnant, then most likely she had been cursed by a witch. Usually, a woman who, barren by herself, wanted to infect others with her malady. I knew from Mama that there was no such thing as curses and that sometimes the body simply went wrong all on its own, but I had never heard of a man being burned before. When Macy Carter and her husband couldn't have a baby, it was Macy who got kicked out of the house and had to live down by the river with the Tinkers and the drunks. When Lucy McGarry didn't get pregnant, her family took her back in, but when two of her neighbors miscarried the same summer, everyone looked to Lucy for the cause. I was 11 when she was hanged for a witch. I had not yet started going on rounds with Mama. I had never seen a person die. It terrified me. Not the violence of it, but the swiftness, how one moment Lucy was standing on the platform and the next she was dangling limp below it. I tried to imagine it myself, what it would be like to see and think and feel and then suddenly plunge into blackness, more than blackness, into nothingness. It kept me awake that night, and for many nights after, the dread of it. But at the gallows, I cheered with everyone else. Only Mama did not cheer. I don't want to sleep with someone else, I said. Can't we just try a little longer? Mama shook her head. People are already starting to gossip, she said. My patients are asking me if you're pregnant yet. She would find someone for me, she said. There were men who did this for money, men whose virility was proven and who knew how to keep a secret. When it was the right time of months, I'd meet with one of them during the day for a few days running. Don't think of it as being unfaithful to your husband, Mama said. Think of it as keeping yourself safe. The man was a surprise to me. We met at my Mama's house where he posed as a repairman. He really did repair Mama's stove. He said I could call him Sam, and I understood that was not his real name. He was Mama's age and ugly, with a scraggly mustache, the color of mouse fur, a big belly and skinny legs. But he was kind to me and put me at ease. You ever want me to stop? You tell me, he said, taking off his socks. I did not want him to stop. I wanted him to do what he had to do quickly so I could go back to my husband with a baby in my belly and never be afraid again. After our fourth meeting, when I was waiting to see if what we had done had worked, I asked Mama what really made women barren. Mama knew many things that Mrs. Spencer and the other people in our town did not know. She knew, for instance, that the great flu that had killed all 8 of her great-grandparents was not, as everyone else said, a judgment from baby Jesus and Mother Mary. Mama's teacher, Sarah Hawkins, a master midwife, had taught her that the great flu had come to America on ships along with spices and sugar, then spread from husband to wife and mother to child and trader to trader by kisses and handshakes, cups of beer shared among friends and strangers, and the coughs and sneezes of men and women who didn't know how sick they were and went on serving food and selling clothes and trading beaver pelts one day too long. Sarah Hawkins said the flu was just a fever, a sickness like any other. And the only reason people put a meaning to it was that otherwise their grief would have overwhelmed them. Mama said Sarah Hawkins was the smartest person she had ever known. But when I asked Mama about barrenness, she just shook her head. Nobody knows, she said. Why not? I asked. I'd never before asked Mama a question that didn't have an answer. We don't even know exactly how a baby forms in a mother's womb, she said. How can we know why sometimes her womb stays empty? I looked down at my hands and she could tell I was disappointed. I know one thing, she said. It's not witchcraft. How do you know? I asked. People cry witchcraft whenever they don't understand something, she said. Remember the town lady said a witch had put a curse on Mayor Dan Dune, and when he died, the doctor found his lungs all filled up with tumors? The only curse on him was that pipe. So why don't you tell people? I asked. Everyone listens to you. Mama shook her head. I used to tell my patients, she said. Every woman worries about a curse if she's not pregnant 2 months after her wedding. It's just a silly story, I'd say. But they didn't believe me, and what's more, some of them got suspicious, like maybe I had cursed them. Mama delivered all the babies in the independent town of Fairchild and cured most of the illnesses besides. She had set more bones than Dr. Carlyle and heard more confessions than Father Simon. Her reputation was so secure that even when she took to her bed after B was born, her patients were all but lined up at our door the day she got well. Nobody was suspicious of Mama. I don't understand, I said. Why didn't they believe you? When someone believes in something, Mama says, you can't just take it away. You have to give them something to replace it. And since I don't know what makes women barren, I've got nothing to give. That's why I'm gonna stop for today. Again, the title is Outlawed, and it is written by Anna North. This is general adult fiction. You can find it in our news section. You can see that by the little sticker here. Feel free to come by the library and, browse, pick it up. You can also place a hold on it if you want to make sure that the book is really there. Yeah, and like always, I hope you enjoyed the little reading, and I see you next Saturday. Bye.